Do you want to make some delicious potato gratins, but maybe you've never tried it before or you've never got it to come out perfectly before in your life? Well, hey, it's Jenna here from Sip, Bite, Go, and today I'm going to show you how to make the most out of any sort of russet potatoes you have at home. So to make this recipe, I used 3 russet potatoes, and with the mandolin, I was able to slice them really thin. Now, you're gonna see that I do not bother with the potato peeler anymore. That's just something I don't have time for as a new mom. So what I do is I slice up the potato really thin with the mandolin after I chopped off the outside. So if I'm using a really sharp knife, I find it's easy to just gently take off the peel of the potato, and usually there's not much waste at all. The amount of time that it saves me and the fact that I can crank out a dish like potato gratins during my baby's nap time is definitely worth taking that short step. So the next thing that I do is I prepare the onions. I'm a huge caramelized onions fan. You can skip this if you don't like onions, but let me tell you, you can always put the onions in raw. This will kind of steam them in the potatoes gratin, but I love my caramelized onions. So I diced up half of an onion here and I put it in the pan on medium heat with some salt and some olive oil, and I just kept stirring it around. Sometimes you'll have to use more olive oil and you're gonna have to babysit these onions. That means you need to really keep stirring them as it goes. Now, I have a complete video on how to caramelize onions on the Sip, Bite, Go YouTube channel and also at sipbitego.com. You can reference that if you want to get really into caramelizing onions, but for the purpose of this recipe, all you need to do is dice up half of an onion, put it in a pan with maybe half a teaspoon of salt, maybe half a tablespoon of olive oil, and just keep moving them around so they don't burn. You can turn down the heat to medium-low if they're starting to get too brown, and you can also add a tablespoon of water or just a little drizzle of more olive oil to prevent them from burning. You need to really just kind of tune into the onions, and if you're seeing burn, do this thing. Do not throw them out. Just have a little confidence, turn down the heat, and add a little olive oil to the pan. All right, so the next thing that I do to prepare the potatoes gratin is to prepare my cheese. And this video I filmed while in quarantine, so I was just using what was available. So here you'll see that I used about 1/3 to a 1/2 cup of cheddar cheese, and then I used some mozzarella that I just diced. I love the fresh ball mozzarella. This was the log mozzarella. Oh, so delicious and creamy. And I love the mix of the cheddar and the mozzarella. It bubbles really nicely on the top. So after I was done dicing these together, I think I had about a cup of cheese total. You could really use any cheese you want. Sometimes I'll add a little Parmesan in. Just make sure a lot of your cheese is type of cheese that gets really melty. Something that you'd want to have in a grilled cheese. So the next thing that happens is all of those beautifully mandolin sliced potatoes go into the dish, and I kind of eyeball it to make sure that the dish I'm using is equal in size to the amount of potatoes I have. They'll cook down a little bit, but not too much. So I added half a layer of the potatoes, and then I added in some, like half of the caramelized onions, half of the cheese, and I threw in some frozen peas because of course you want to add something green to the dish. Makes it healthy. Just kidding. So anyways, once that's all done, the inside like secret section, then it's time to add more potatoes on top. And really, potato gratin should not be intimidating whatsoever, but I totally get that it can be because I have cooked it incorrectly in the past. So one thing I like to do is add a lot of flavor without gunking it up with too much cheese. I mean, half a cup of cheese is pretty liberal, but here I'm just going to add some pesto and milk, and there is a little flour in the milky mixture that you're going to see coming. But yeah, I don't use like thick creams. I don't use a cream cheese or anything in this. I try to keep it pretty true to the ingredients, and you know, it does end up pretty indulgent at the end. So the final touch goes in after that milky pesto mixture, and the final touch is more of the tasty ingredients that went on the inside, and now they just go on the outside. So I'm just kind of evenly distributing the cheese here and making sure that the peas and everything are equally distributed, so when it comes out, everyone gets a little bite of everything in their serving. So as you can see, I'm just, being a perfectionist here, mixing up the colors and everything. But I'm really happy how it turned out. And at this stage, I was so excited to put it in the oven and see how it's going to turn out. So now it only takes an hour in the oven. And after you do this a couple of times, you can substitute in different ingredients and really make it your own. But I find that if I'm making it double this size, or if I'm just making it this size for 2 to 3 of us. I say 2-3 of us because baby's involved. But if I'm making something this size, or if I'm making it double this size for something like a holiday like Easter or Thanksgiving, I find that it still cooks at 1 hour for 1 hour at 400 degrees. So that's kind of my tried and true method. It's always about this thick. I haven't done anything thicker. I don't see why you would. This is kind of a normal lasagna size cast iron skillet, but I think that's pretty good. It only takes an hour, and after the first time I did it, I realized that I don't have to stay in the kitchen and babysit it. Like, I can check on it, but it's one of those dishes that I could prep earlier in the day when the baby's taking a nap or something, or in the morning when I get a break, and then at 4 or 5 p.m. I can pop it in the oven, and it's really simple. So one other thing you just have to know before I let you go is that potato gratin cooked this way makes super fabulous leftovers. As I speak, this is still in my fridge, and we're going to have the leftovers tonight with some meatball soup that I made in the Instant Pot. That meatball soup recipe is going to be available soon at sitbitego.com, and I'll also share it on the YouTube channel, Sit Bite Go. Well, I'm so excited for you to make this recipe. It's definitely a great side to have with one of my sous vide recipes in my latest cookbook, the Home Chef Sous Vide Cookbook. If you're a sous vide enthusiast like I am, or you know someone who has a sous vide machine and loves it, you have to send them a screenshot of this book that has over 100 recipes that I absolutely love to make with my machine. Well, until next time, check out sitbitego.com for more recipes, and I can't wait to see what you cook. Have a wonderful and delicious day. Cheers!